Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke. But I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
This is episode 2 with my friend Carole, talking about her daughter Grace. So she's in school 5 days a week as her health prevails when she can. I met her, oh my God, it was a while ago already.
I know. I was trying to think when that was.
I'm trying to think why the hell I was there.
Was it like maybe 3-4 years ago?
I think it was around the maybe high school reunion. Maybe.
Maybe. Yes. No, I think that's what it was. I think you came out here for that. Yeah.
All right. So, what kind of prompted this is, and I know you already said you basically live with fear and concerns, are your concerns around funding.
Mm.
Can you speak to that? Nothing has materialized, but what the concerns are that may manifest?
I think in this, when you have a family member that relies on help, and there's no way we could ever do this without help. So you have a situation where you're reliant, not from anything you did, it's just the way it is. And then something comes along that presents the fear of things being taken away or changing. It is very disconcerting when you recognize that the things that have helped you get to the place you are have been supported by something like Medicaid. And Grace has always had some form of Medicaid to support her, whether it was a secondary or her main, which right now that's her main insurance. And it is just, it's terrifying to think that the things that you rely on, and it's not even that you want, but the things that in your gut you feel have made a difference to your child's well-being, health, quality of life, could be taken away on a whim without thoughtfulness. I appreciate that we live in where we do, because I feel like my state will do whatever it can, but there's only so much that any state can do in a situation like this. And it's the fear of the unknown. Like, our lives are fearful on a good day. You know, a cold, this past year, my daughter was hospitalized twice for a cold. Once she was med flighted. We were on our way to the ER and she was in such distress. I turned around and flew into a fire station. And when we got to the hospital, she was put on a vent and med flighted to Boston. That was with a rhinovirus, which is a common cold. So our lives we were in fear. And so the thought of a support system being changed or impacted or taken away adds a burden that, unless you're living this life, I'm not sure that can be truly appreciated. But it sucks.
You said it affects 900 children in the state of Massachusetts?
My understanding is that there's about 900 kiddos in the DDS that are of Grace's level of need. And in society, it's a small amount. And, one of the things that in this journey, I kind of had a realization for myself was that living the life of special needs, it's like we're a subculture that exists parallel to the regular Joe lives. And I myself, I was aware. I'm an ex preschool teacher. I was aware of children and needs and what have you, but not to the extent that it impacts every level of a family's life that us being brought into this life has shown. And I really had this thought, I'm like, unless you want to come into this life, you find yourself here, you know, not because you wanted to be here. And I think the level of support and need families have, I don't think that other people really can appreciate just how much harder regular life is.
Is there anything you want to speak to?
Well, I think it's, society is not set up for my child to go out and explore. And what we've always wanted for Grace was joy. Was fortunate enough to attend a training in the beginning of this journey by an organization, Mass Families Organizing for Change. And there was so much training and exposure to things. And one of the things somebody said, which has stuck to me, was that our children deserve to live an enviable life. Like they deserve, just like everybody deserves, to have a life that is full of joyful experiences. So I want to give Grace joyful experiences. And the older she has become, the thing that impacts us is freaking toileting her. Like I cannot there's so few places that I comfortably can take her for an extended amount of time because she doesn't have, it's close enough to home. If we had to go back to change, we could do it at home. We can go to Mystic Aquarium because they have a great room there that you can lay her down to change her in. But she is too fragile. She is too big. And society does not think that, or has not made a place for people who need a bigger changing station other than the silly little baby koalas out there in the world so they can experience and go and enjoy things. And I think about like what was recently one of the things said in the news about somebody, made the misinformation that there's aren't any older people with special needs out there or whatever. It's because they can't go anywhere. They're home. They're stuck at home. Because you can imagine who wants to go out and go to the museum and sit and poop. You know what I mean? You're not going to have an enjoyable time doing that. You're going to end up with more problems, and nobody wants that. So
No, and the solution is just an adult size changing table instead of a kid size.
And every single one of us are going to probably need that at some point in our lives.
Well, you said people elderly can't get out, and other kids with other types of disabilities. I'm sure it affects. I'm not as savvy about naming, but kids that are severely autistic, many types of disabilities. I would imagine that would change because on some level too, most of them know. Like you said, who wants to sit and poop?
Who wants to sit and poop? Who wants to be around someone who smells like poop?
No.
So then it impacts how people interact with you.
Right.
And I remember when Grace was little, that still hurts my heart, but I've been on this journey a while. I understand it. But when you get the looks and the stares and the questioning, and I don't care if it's a kid, I care more if it's a grown up, better. But I would buy Grace really funky shoes. I would have really funky, pretty hair pretties, or her clothes are really important to me because it actually gives somebody something to talk to her about, or to acknowledge us with.
Right.
It's the smallest.
You make
little
it
thing.
easy, right?
And the best thing I ever did was buy her pink patent leather Doc Martens when she was 3. She rocked them. But that interaction, I mean, you think about, like, if you're going around your world and nobody interacts with you, that's lousy for anybody. So right now, one of my things, and I'm thrilled that the ARC is, which is
Carole, and not to interrupt you, but
no,
for people listening to teach their children, just teach your children to smile at other children. They don't have to say anything. They just can offer a smile.
yeah. And I love the kid that's like, how come she has that thing at her neck? I love those questions.
Right.
Because, kids typically, they notice a difference. They want to understand. They want to know. They're curious, but it is a huge, and don't look away. Like you say, look and smile.
Right.
That it's okay. It's okay.
Yep. That
It's not
means the
catchy.
world.
It does. It absolutely does. Because it makes you feel,
Acknowledged.
yeah, and that you matter. And who doesn't want to feel like they matter?
Smile at her first, you second.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something to me, and I don't remember the context of the situation that Grace would be in. I don't remember if she ever had to go into a group home, but somebody was educating you. I believe it was a doctor, very matter-of-factly, about what that includes. Can you talk about that, please?
So we've had, as Grace has gotten a little bit older, we've always had the conversations about, the shots and what are appropriate for Grace and what aren't, or whatever. And at one of her, in the last 2 years, doctor's appointment, her pediatrician, very matter-of-factly, took me 100% by surprise. I wasn't expecting it. But told me that, we're coming closer to the time when we need to think about putting Grace on birth control. Because statistics show that my child is much more vulnerable to an abusive interaction than typical kids. And so the thought is that putting her on birth control would be a level of protection. And I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified that this matter-of-fact little conversation was happening. Because it is a reality that Greg and I need to face. And unfortunately, because we are older, we're very aware that, I don't know whether to hope that Grace goes before us or, it's hard. That's the hard lesson that we're trying to ready ourselves for now.
I'm not
the discussion about.
I'm not trying to upset you, but the doctor who brought that to you, was that for hospital stays, or if she should enter into, what was the?
It is Grace is vulnerable wherever she is when her parents aren't with her.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
And I think one of the things with her being in the school that she's at, our home nurse goes with her. She is nursing. She can't go to school without a nurse. And so there is a level of comfort, because I do trust the women that are caring for her. I do believe that they would do everything in their power to keep her safe, and no matter what instance or what event would happen. But I also know that as Grace gets older, her school life becomes shorter. We're looking at starting to plan for the end of her school life, and then what happens?
Is that 18 or 21? Because I know
22. I think she's eligible to stay at her school till she's 22.
Gotcha.
But at 18, you would have a discussion as to whether or not that would be appropriate for her, or could we do better for her at that point in her life? I know some families choose to do things differently, which is the things I'm exploring now. Because the thought of her going to an adult daycare. Not going to happen. It is hard to find a good one. It is. I do not have a good feeling about that at this point. I'm obviously starting my research in the beginning parts of it, but that's when her vulnerability will be absolutely at its highest point. It's really, when you're relying on other people, and she needs 100% care. She needs intimate care. So she is so vulnerable to somebody hurting her. And that's, that's a shitty place to be in when you're the person that, you care about more than anybody else in the whole wide world is so vulnerable to the evilness of people. And then anyway, so that is what is in the forefront of our minds right now, is trying to plan ways to keep her safe, I guess.
So beyond 22, and and you said you're investigating options. Are there small group home situations for?
Yeah, there are families that, like, us, that don't want their child to be in a situation, that have been very, very creative about creating, going in on a house with a couple of other families,
Right,
and
that's what I
building in
was alluding to,
supports.
because
Yeah,
I know that happens in the autism community. That's
yeah. Grace has a high level of medical need, so it's trickier to think of that option. But I'm also thinking about just, the options for her that impact that living an enviable life. In my mind, it's not a group of adults following somebody as they sludge around Stop and Shop, you know what I mean, or Target. I want her to go swimming. I want her to go do ballet. I want her to, be around fun, exciting, different things that she herself likes. And that's one of the things that early training, really sparked in me, was that, there are other options. You can be creative about how you build in supports for your young adult special needs person, where she is getting to spend her day doing things that she enjoys doing versus filling time. I don't
well.
want
It
her
sounds
day
like she's
to
a
fill time.
participant.
Yes, because we know there are things that she loves. We know that there are environments that she comes alive in, and there are environments where she's like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that. So, there's a woman that I had met at this training, and her son was completely involved, and they figured but he liked taking photographs, and they figured out a way for him to take photographs, and that evolved then into them helping him to make them into cards, and he'll go around the craft fair things, and he sells his wares. So he gets an income stream, little one, but it's something. B, he gets validated for the thing that he likes to do, and his family supports him in having opportunities to go and do those things. And it's a life you build around that. It's better than trudging along, following people going around Target. Nothing wrong with Target, but, well, there's something wrong with Target. But anyway, that's what I want for Grace. I want her to live an enviable life.
And that's how we connected on this, because I had posted about going into a restaurant and seeing an elderly, a group of elderly people, nursing home participants. Yeah. Like, it was a table of like 10 or 12, and the aides were all sitting together. and the folks that needed the interaction who needed someone to facilitate, were were sitting. It was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to watch
Yeah.
that the aides just. And I told you what I did. I went to the end of the table and I smiled and interacted briefly.
Hmm.
Tried to very subtly give the aides something to think about. But I also
Yeah.
I thank them for what they do, because you got to kind of work both sides of it.
Yep. Well, it's a hard job and it's not recognized enough.
It's not paid well enough.
Nope.
Hmm.
So it's a hard, yeah, the, in my mind, the solution is really simple. You pay them well, pay people well to take care of people who need excellent care.
Our neediest populations. I agree.
Yep.
It should be a no brainer.
Yep.
Your concerns. I mean, your obvious concerns. Should you and uh, Greg predecease her are
Mm.
obviously.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean,
Yeah. What does that look like? How on earth does that work? Is really, really hard for me. I haven't found my solution yet. I can barely even allow myself to really go down that route to think about what it would look like. Because at this point in time, I don't know what it looks like. I don't have, we don't have other children to take up the burden. It's not a burden that somebody else will want. Um, yeah, it's a shitty question. It's a hard, but it's something that we have started the initial stages of thinking about and planning for that part of her life. Because I guess in the end result is if I can create a day that works for Grace and a support system, um, it's got to work if I'm there or not. So that's my
have you
goal.
spoken with an attorney?
We have, Grace's school has also had some trainings where we have started to kind of explore that. The flip side of this life is that your own path derails. And like I had to give up my business. I no longer had the support in that business to do what I needed to do, because it's hard. It's hard to maintain compassion for somebody who does not know next week if they're going to be in the hospital or not with their kid. It's hard. So I get it, but I also needed that. And now without that, I, our end of life plans have changed dramatically. And it's, I am unemployable because I don't have a strong enough support system to manage my child's needs, is where the realization that I have come to. Um, Unless I'm super, super creative and finding, ways to make that work, which is what these special needs families do. They have to be super, super creative, or they're just blessed with one income that can work, or they're struggling and nobody knows because society doesn't pay attention to them. So
What kind of business did you close, Carole?
my school,
What's
I didn't, I had to sell my shares because, and I'm actually not able to really talk a lot about that.
okay.
But it was heartbreaking for me on a personal level. If you're giving up the Carole things, you know what I mean? Not the
Yeah,
mom things, not the wife things, the
the
Carole things.
woman identity.
Yeah. And it's something that I have worked towards since I was 18 years old. I have worked and been a passionate supporter of young children and my own growth in that field, which has been very, very, very wonderful to have had that supports in my own will well, for my life with Grace. but I'm not in the place where I thought I'd be, so yeah.
I remember you told me a story about one of the boys that feels very connected to Grace.
Oh, I know. She has this, and she always has. She just likes certain people. And I think of Grace as being the best marker for, are you a good person or are you not a good person? Because she's just so intuitive, I think, but there's this little boy at her school that she has, and they've connected as soon as they met. I feel like they moved up into the next classroom together, which I was so grateful for. And he is completely blind, and he will, come to Grace and put his hand on her knee and be like, okay, that's Grace. But they'll at morning meeting, they get to pick who they're going to do an activity with or who they're going to say hi to or what have you. And invariably, this little boy will pick Grace and Grace will pick him. And we were lucky enough to go to a little event at a Build-A-Bear during school vacation and ran into him and his mother there. And it was just so lovely to see Grace's joy at seeing him. She bounces in her chair. And I got to see firsthand him coming over, putting his hand on her knee, coming over. They hold hands. And he'd come up to me and he checked me out and he smelled my hair and he felt my hand. And then he accepted me. He jumped up in my arms. And I'm like, I can be your mother-in-law. But it was just so lovely to see that she supported in developing genuine friendships. Like, they picked each other. Nobody picked them for each other. They picked each other. And I love that for her. And him. She's a good friend.
I remember watching when I met her interact with Greg. You want to speak to that?
Oh my gosh. When I think about the joy that this man brings our house. Grace absolutely, she just brims. She just brims with joy and giggles and laughter and tomfoolery. He's supported her tomfoolery love. And the more tomfoolery they can do, the silly play, the throwing the balls around.
That's what I remember. Something with the ball.
Throwing the ball around. She bats it back. She thinks it's a hoot and a holler if you bonk her over the head. She just wants to play. She would have given me, different kinds of gray hairs. If she was a typical developing kid, she would have been climbing up a tree and jumping out. And her dad would have been like, yeah. And he's so good for her. I'm cautious Carole, and he's go get him Greg. And when she was more free in her gait trainer before her spinal surgery that didn't go well, I would not want to know what they got up to when they went up to the school parking lot, because she would just run with him, and so good. It's just so good for her. And he just plays. He just plays with her. And the laughter is it is from, she will lose her breath because she's laughing so hard at playing with her daddy. And that's just a gift.
Was it Greg who led the charge on an unnamed golf course?
No, I think that was Cheryl and her hubby. I don't know. But that was a good time. That was still one of my all-time favorite memories, Joanne. I'll talk about laughing till you're going to pee your pants.
I just remember private golf course, Martha's Vineyard.
Mm-hmm. 6 drunk people in golf carts.
Did we have lasers? Or did we have lasers?
I don't remember lasers.
What do you remember anything else? It just came to me, and I just
have a picture of a doorway issue, maybe.
Ugh.
It was such a great time, though. I mean, I think like those joyful, like free, where you're just in the moment and I mean, that was just such a great time. And those kind of high play activity times, that's what Greg brings to Grace on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You know, she just, when he walks in the room, she is just, you know, she lays flat on the couch. She can't sit up by herself. And because of her spinal surgery going wonky, her hardware actually protrudes, not through the skin, but it's trying. So she spends a lot of her time laying flat on her back during her downtime, but she will like rock. And when her daddy comes in, it's like you get 3 rocks before her hiney's going to be off the couch. Because that's her running to his arms, I think.
Oh, Carole.
I know.
Are you crying too?
Yeah. I'm so grateful for him. But she's such a good kid, you know. She's just such a great person, and every place that we've had her, you know, she comes to life, and she just wants life to be good, and she's ready for the good time.
Honey,
But
we're
she's
at
so
the
genuine.
we're at the end.
Okay.
I can't thank you enough. I much love. Kiss her. Kiss
Will
him.
do.
Kiss him on one nipple. And hopefully he'll return the favor twofold.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me talk about my baby girl.
All right. Much love, babe.
Same to you, Joe.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. J-Ma.